Hi, this is Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. We're going to talk about the noble background and in experiencing the noble background IRL so that I understand it better in the D&D world. So I actually struggle with the noble background. I think a lot of people do. A lot of people are like, oh, hey, I know you want to play noble background, but like, it should be limited, right? But the way Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition is set up, they want everybody to be able to choose every choice, right? And I kind of get that. I don't like the idea of, oh, you got to roll to play Noble. So I love that Noble is available to all players. And I've played the Noble background, and I really didn't feel like I delivered on it because I don't think I really ever understood it, right? I study the British nobles. I'm really fascinated by them, but I don't think I have an understanding of what a noble really is, how they live, that kind of thing. And I certainly have no understanding of why any noble in the world would choose to adventure, right? Like if you could sit around, just talking with dope people and enjoying all the gold your family has, why would you go out and risk your life to go down in dirt holes that might have some gold in them when you already live in a super dope mansion that definitely has gold in it? Like, doesn't make any sense, right? So I just feel like it's one of those things about D&D that is just hard to grasp, right? But today, I experienced it in real life, right? So today I was in this. I live in an okay suburban area, right? So which means that I live in a nice suburb about 15 miles south of Philadelphia, and but around me, I live near some incredibly wealthy suburban areas, right? And I like to go to them, right? So I'll just get my car, I take my bicycle, and then I'll bicycle around these really nice areas. So I was in this super nice town, right? And I go to the best cafe in the town, and I get in line, and I'm waiting for my coffee, and I get my coffee, and I get a nice pastry. And it was really interesting because the pastry looked like it. I was like, oh, is this an egg in a pastry? And they're like, no, this isn't an egg in a pastry. That's a peach. And I was like, oh, that's cool, because it looked like something different, right? So I got it. It was really nice, and the place had really dope pastries and good coffee. And this guy, the barista, the guy who serves me his coffee, there's like two people there. There's a nice young lady, and then this gentleman. And this gentleman, I didn't take note of him when I first ordered my coffee. I just made my coffee order. He fulfilled my coffee order really perfectly. He was very professional, right? But he's just a coffee dude. He's just serving coffee, right? And so I get my coffee, I go out, and I'm sitting down, and the coffee guy comes out, right? Now he's clearly coming out for a smoke break, right? And this lady says, I'm going to change the names to protect the innocent. She says Robert, right? And this older lady, she's not old, she's about 50, about exactly my age. Very nice looking, and she's clearly wealthy, right? Because most of the people there are. She says, Robert, how is your father, right? And so the coffee guy goes, oh, he's doing great. He just got a Guggenheim, right? And she's like, oh, that's fantastic. What's he going to use it for? And he says, well, my dad, right? His normal gig is translating Sanskrit poetry, right, into English. But he's written a lot of books about that and how to do that, and a lot of, of course, a lot of books have his poetry that he's done the conversion on, all that. But he has this thing that he's been working on, but it's really niche. It's not mainstream like translated Sanskrit poetry. It's more niche than that. So the Guggenheim Award will allow him to just relax for a couple years. He doesn't have to worry about making his nut, and he could just focus on this really niche interest, not as mainstream as translated Sanskrit poetry into English, right? And I'm looking at this, I'm like, whoa, and this dude, and then he starts talking with the lady, and she's like, oh, is he still friends with David? And Robert, the coffee guy, goes, oh no, they're still friends by name and word, right? But David, it's just like your company. Remember when your company bought that other waste management company and how it took 3 years to do it and you were working 60-hour weeks. So Robert says this to the old lady. So he's saying, remember when your company bought another company? He's saying this to her, right? He's like, that's where David's at, right? And he hasn't seen my dad in 6 months. So they're friends, but they never spent any time together. So are they really friends? And I thought, wow, that's an astute question, right? And then, like, then, you know, she's like, wow, you know, I'm sorry to hear that. Because you spent a little bit of time with him when you were over in the Middle East, right? And she's like, yeah, you know, we went and we saw a body burn together. And I'm like, what? Why is this coffee dude talking about when they watched a body burned on a pyre in like current modern day, but just on another continent? And he was, right? Like, so this guy, right? You look at this dude, right? Complete frump, right? Like just dumpy, probably about between 30, 35, right? Wearing black shorts, plain black shirt, dressing to keep the job he's got. Not dressing to be the manager of the shop where he serves coffee, but to keep the job of like serving coffee, right? Like, just looks like nothing, right? Like, and like just doesn't look noble, right? Doesn't look of noble birth, right? And I'm listening to him, and he starts telling this story about when he and David and his father watched someone's body burned on a pyre because this was the custom of the village, right? And I'm like, you're talking about villages in modern day, right? And then, you know, he starts talking about tea from another continent, and I was blown away. I was like, this is what a noble background is, right? You know, like, this guy serves coffee, and he is very clearly not trying to do anything else, right? And while his father is, you know, is earning Guggenheims for his excellence in like translating Sanskrit, you know, poetry into English, right? This dude's like, what do you want in your latte, right? But the thing that blew me away was his English was perfect. His charisma was incredible, right? What is charisma when it comes to Dungeons & Dragons? I could see it on this guy, right? Charisma is when you can persuade people, right, without resorting to logic. Wow. You know, I heard that, I recently heard that definition. That definition's not mine. But it's really fantastic. And what blew me away was this lady has enough money to buy, she has a company that buys companies, right? And she would not let him go, right? He keeps looking over and he's like, I got lattes to serve. I got a smoke break to take. Can I stop talking to you, lady? Right? But she just wants every word out of him, right? Why does this lady who has a company who buys companies, right? Why does she want to continue to talk to a dude who serves coffee? Because he is of noble background. Noble background, right? So this dude, he is not doing noble things. He's not ruling anyone, right? He's not doing earth-shaking things that win awards and get invited to charity events, right? But he knows that world. He knows it backwards and forwards. He knows every aspect of it, right? He is the real deal when it comes to nobility, in that he's been there. He was raised there. He has the language. He has the charisma, right? And it doesn't look like he's dressed like a frump. It doesn't look like it doesn't matter that he looks like he's dressed like a frump. There's a natural charisma that's born from his nobility. There's a natural, like, language, booster that he has. And I just like, holy cows, that's the D&D noble background, IRL, right? So one of the things, one, just understand when you're dealing with nobles, right? A lot of times, I think some of these nobles who choose to be adventurers, they're just like, I don't want it, right? I don't want the grind, because I'll bet you right now that his dad is grinding to beat out those other Sanskrit poetry translators. You know, he's on that rat race, right? But this guy's like, nah, what do you want in your latte, right? So it is real. Like the D&D noble background, it's very real. Like there would be people who are just like, I don't want to do it, right? And I really didn't understand that until I saw it in IRL. The second thing I want to point out is how rich is our lives, right? Everybody, I think any other, non D&D player, they would have just looked at this guy, and there wouldn't, and once I had seen this guy in real life, it locked into place a better understanding of my own previous characters. It gives me a better ability to play nobles in the future. It gives me a better understanding of the player characters that I play with who have noble background. It gives me a better understanding of NPCs, right? And again, like, there's just every moment in life, we can enjoy it for our IRL, but we can snap it into place for the other characters that live within us, right? The worlds that we're building in our mind, right? And this life isn't just, it's not just one layer. It's multiple layers for us. And we dungeon masters, dungeon players, dungeon designers, we lead better lives because of the game. Every moment of our lives has the possibility of spiking into a beautiful, shining, example moment, right? And for us, they live on multiple levels, just multiple levels, and it's just so rich and wonderful. And I am just so excited to see it, and I also just really want to, celebrate the life I have, and just I'm so amazed at how much richer Dungeons and Dragons makes our lives. And increasingly, I just have this deep, sorrowful pity for people who live one life. I think, like, maybe as dungeon masters, as dungeon players, as dungeon designers, maybe they should be a charity we make just to help the one-livers, right? The flat lifers, that only live on this earth and no other, right? Because their lives are so shriveled and small, and I think my heart is just really going out to them. That's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think about the noble background. Have you ever encountered a noble in IRL? I'd love to hear your thoughts and your encounters with the noble IRL background in real life. Also, are you seeing this as well, where you see something in real life, you're impressed with it in the IRL, but you realize this is going to dramatically expand my DM ability, my dungeon master ability, my dungeon player ability, my dungeon designer ability? I'm really curious if you guys are starting to see this in your own lives, and just get this richer appreciation for for experiencing life. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking, subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.